Well, the influx of South Sudan refugees into Uganda has caught the attention of U.S. lawmakers who are calling for an end to the country's political conflict that has seen thousands of people lose their lives and millions more displaced. Africa 54's Esther Githui-Ewart sat down with Congressman Chris Smith, who recently returned from Uganda's Bidibidi refugee camp.
Congressman Chris Smith led a delegation of U.S. lawmakers to the Bidibidi camp in Uganda, which is now home to thousands of South Sudanese refugees.
One of the things that struck me the most was how welcoming Uganda is of the refugees. Matter of fact, they made a point of saying they're not refugees, they're our brothers and sisters.
In the last 1 month, the World Food Programme slashed food rations by half, forcing some of the refugees to steal food from the local communities.
There is some shortages of food. Rations were cut because of inadequate funding. The United States, for its part, is the largest donor by far. So we need to do more, in my opinion. But the European Union and others need to step up as well with money for the World Food Programme and for medicines and shelter that's being provided.
Uganda is hosting over 900,000 refugees from South Sudan, and Congressman Smith says the displacement is directly linked to the conflict.
The famine that's being experienced in some areas is directly attributable to conflict.
East African regional leaders have attempted but failed in their effort to mediate peace in South Sudan. Smith says Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, whom he met during the visit, is in the best position to talk to South Sudan's leader.
I think in terms of influence, he might even have the greatest influence on Salva Kiir, and the other nations in the region need to step up and say to Salva Kiir, that's it. Peace is the only alternative now. That's it.
His discussion with South Sudanese President Salva Kiir in Juba last month follows a meeting in August 2016 in which he recalls atrocities committed by Kiir's soldiers who raped local and foreign humanitarian aid workers and killed a journalist.
I said, you know, zero tolerance on sexual abuse, Mr. President, and you need to promulgate a rule in your military and security forces. I was very blunt. Our aid is contingent on human rights criteria too.
So did President Salva Kiir take any responsibility for what is going on in his country?
He didn't put it in terms of taking responsibility, but he did talk about making changes. I mentioned to him that they need a modern military that obeys the rule of law and the chain of command understands human rights norms from top to bottom, from general to private, that the abuse of civilians is absolutely actionable by prosecution, and a zero tolerance on all sexual harassment of every kind.
South Sudan's civil war erupted in December 2013. The fighting has killed thousands of people and displaced nearly 4 million people, including 1.8 million who have sought refuge in neighboring countries. 2 million are internally displaced. Esther Githui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.